Today, I'm joined by Renisa, a software engineer at AWS SageMaker. SageMaker is Amazon's fully managed platform for building, training, and deploying machine learning models at scale. It supports everything from Jupyter Notebook-based coding and experimentation to large-scale distributed training and production deployment. Renisa recently earned her master's in computer and information science from the University of Pennsylvania, where she focused on core systems, distributed programming, and ethical algorithm design. Renisa was also my head TA during that time. Renisa, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Brandon. Really excited for this.
So I'd like to learn a little bit more, actually a lot more, about SageMaker. If I go to AWS and I search for AWS SageMaker, I see two options. One is SageMaker AI and the other is SageMaker. What's the difference between the two?
Right. So technically, SageMaker and SageMaker AI are supposed to be the same thing. Like in December 2024, I believe SageMaker was renamed as SageMaker AI. But if we see like the higher level overview of like what SageMaker comprises of, then we can see that like SageMaker as a whole has like a lot more products and services within it. And it's like broader, if you say, than SageMaker AI. But like in conversation terms, like they can be used interchangeably. It was like basically renamed.
Okay. So can you give me a broad overview of some of the most important features and also what are the use cases for SageMaker?
Cool. Yeah, sure. So SageMaker is like we can think of it as a one-stop shop for data scientists and developers and machine learning engineers to train, build, deploy, do all that they need to do for their ML projects in one place. And the most important unique part of it is like you do it in a production ready hosted environment. So like you are you'll be pre-processing at scale, you can train at scale, like it provides you with a distributed environment that you don't have to worry about because SageMaker takes care of it, and you just like can work on your project and like have it ready to like go on production right away.
Okay. And when I start to write code in SageMaker, I'm using what's basically a Jupyter notebook.
That's right. Yeah, that's one of the uses.
And what programming languages does the SageMaker notebook support?
It supports Python and R the best way because we have like AWS SDKs, and the built-in plugins have the most libraries and the most support for these two kernels.
Can you walk me through the process for setting up a data science project? Let's say I have a data set. I have some CSV files. I want to write some code to analyze the data, maybe create some visualizations, and then I want to share my notebook with others on my team. How do I set that project up?
Right. So first of all, you'll need to have an AWS account.
Hmm?
So you have your account created, you log into your account through console, you navigate to SageMaker, you open up a notebook from SageMaker Studio. Like it'll be a lot more clearer when we do the demo in a follow-up, but yeah, you open it up and you then open up a new file, and that like when you do a new notebook, new file, then you'll see your workspace where you can write your code.
Okay.
And the best part of this is that you can upload, well, you do have option to upload your files on the workspace itself, but like similar to Colab, it won't be persistent. But with SageMaker notebooks, you can upload it to a S3 bucket, and that stays it's not going to be volatile if your workspace shuts down, and also helps you when you share. So you write your code in a workspace and you run it. You can you'll have options to import like a lot of things that AWS SDK offers, and SageMaker has some imports that you can use to like make your work easier. It has like a lot of low code, no code availabilities for developers. So you can use any of those. and you run your project, you visualize it using plotting or whatever visualization method you want. And then like sharing is super easy. Like it basically is like a right click functionality kind of a thing. You right click on it, you share with like your team, whoever you want to share it with. And also there is so SageMaker works on like a concept of user profiles. So when you log in, you'll have to create a user, like when you open up SageMaker, you'll be creating a user profile as well. And then when you set it up, there are options to have it like a, if you want it to be like a private space or like a shared space, and then you can have other user profiles in that space then, and your workspace, your S3 bucket access, like all of those is going to be shared within that space.
When I set up a new notebook, what are the options? Like, can I configure the notebook instance with different resources?
Sure, yeah. There are some like when you're setting it up, there are going to be like by default, um, it is going to have a couple, like by default, it's going to give you some resources. Like by default, it'll tell you that this notebook is going to open up on like a T3 medium instance,
Okay.
but it is all configurable. Like you can always switch it as per your usage.
So let's imagine I have a huge data set. I'm going to put that data set in S3. I know that I'm going to need a lot of memory to load the data. Uh,
Right.
maybe I'm going to load it into a data frame, whatever. I can configure my instance accordingly. I can scale it up, add additional memory, whatever I need.
Yeah, yeah, you can do that whenever you need. And also, like in SageMaker, if you have missed out on doing it, like it'll auto scale in the background. There's dynamic scaling.
Oh, it will.
Yeah, it will. Yeah.
Is that automatic or you have to turn that on?
No, it is automatic. There's dynamic
Oh,
scaling that was, yeah, implemented like recently.
oh,
So
okay. So does it matter what type of instance you start with?
like it matters a little bit because like it'll, if it has to scale up like multiple times, then there's going to be like a buffer, like some, maybe if your request is coming in while it's scaling up,
Oh, I see.
um, yeah, then it might like not be able to respond because it takes a little while to scale up.
Okay. What are AWS SageMaker's biggest competitors?
I would say it'll be like other like end-to-end ML platforms by Microsoft and Google. Like Microsoft has a Azure
Yeah.
AI, yeah, and then Google has Vertex AI. So those would be the competitors for SageMaker. Also, Databricks provides like a lot of such provisions for mostly focus on analytics with like Spark integrated. So yeah.
What are some of the latest and greatest features recently added to SageMaker? What's new and exciting?
I believe it would be like SageMaker as a whole, like I mentioned, has like a lot of these other services or like sub products within it. So there's like SageMaker Jumpstart and SageMaker like those services. So those are basically like no code for developers. Like I have personally not never like used such a thing, like such a service to build any of my projects, but I find it very interesting because like it does a lot for you. Like you just mentioned in like your target and like what you want to achieve, and then it uh like bundles up your requirements and like creates a um like writes the code for you basically.
Oh, I see.
So
So essentially, it's a jump start, right? It's an easy way to get started. I don't have to write any code. It's going to write the code for me for some model I want to run with some data. And then can I customize it after I use Jumpstart?
yeah, yeah, yeah. You can customize it. And like you basically don't need deep ML knowledge to like get working with those. And it also tries like a lot of models against your use case. Like it does all of that for you. Like pre-processing, trying out different models, seeing
Okay.
what's best. So yeah.
Is S3 the best place to put data if you're going to work in SageMaker?
Like it depends. I would say yes. Like it can depend on your use case, but I'd say yes because S3 also um like lets you configure like accessibility rules. So that makes it very secure for you to use it. Like you can always attach like who can view, who can edit, who can use it. So
And it's fairly cheap, right? It's one of the cheaper ways to store lots of data.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of the cheapest way to store lots of data. And since it's like an AWS product, like the integration is kind of seamless with SageMaker.
I'd like to talk a bit about your role at AWS. What kinds of projects are you working on?
I'm mostly on the platform side of AWS SageMaker. And the projects I currently am working actually on migrating the services to support IPv6 because I know it's like a worldwide campaign and many companies that like now we have to move on to, it's high time we have to move on to IPv6 and like have dual stack endpoints for all services. That's one of the projects that I'm working on. So when I say the services, so this is SageMaker Studio. Like SageMaker Studio has like different endpoints that customers like ping. So I'm like making it all like dual stack eligible for customers. So we can like go ahead and support IPv6.
I see.
Uh,
So you're essentially migrating the back end of SageMaker Studio. If I were to go use SageMaker Studio after you completed the migration, what would I notice? What would be different?
the experience is not like the one of our goals for this specific project is to like ensure that the customer experience is like not hindered at all.
Okay.
The difference you would notice is that like you would see that it now supports, it gives you an option to choose the IP address type. Like the customer can choose whether they want to use IPv4 or they want to opt in for a dual stack thing. So it'll give you that option.
So for those unfamiliar, why would I choose one over the other? Like, what's the benefit of migrating to IPv6?
IPv6 is free, first of all. Like, yeah, so like it costs the company less, so it could cost you less for your pay-as-you-go pricing. And also like IPv4, like we are not too sure like if all of like the addresses, if we exhaust it all, what changes you could need later on. If your setup is on IPv4 and like we are reaching exhaustion, then like you don't know what all changes you would need. So IPv6 is going to like stay like be there forever, like for now at least, because yeah, it's gonna take like there was like some calculation for like some million years for it to end.
So what tools are you using in your day-to-day work?
Um, I use IDEs like that have been but these IDEs like the configuration is set by Amazon, VS Code or IntelliJ. So like that'll be the IDEs. And we use a lot of AWS's services for our development as well, like Lambdas and
Okay.
CloudWatch and well, EC2s and all of
And you're writing code in Python?
that. No, my work is in Java.
It's in Java, okay. Is a lot of AWS backend in Java?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
A lot of it is in Java. There's also a lot of like the infrastructure code is a lot in Ruby
Oh.
um, and TypeScript for some infra code that we write. Yeah, a lot of Java.
How are you personally using AI in your development process?
So there is an internal AI assistant in like in Amazon, that's Amazon wide, and we are permitted to use it to like develop code. So it helps a lot to like clean up the code, um, or like if I've written a code that's kind of not very clean and it's not modularized properly, then I just you can again you can integrate the AI assistant on your IDE and then it helps you write better code, um, generate like unit tests for you. Like I would also always recommend like verifying what it writes, but yeah, that like speeds up the development process for sure.
What's the makeup of your team? First of all, do you manage anybody?
I'm an individual contributor.
Okay. And what actual team are you on?
I'm on the internal name, we don't expose it as such, but I'm on the SageMaker AI platforms team.
And how does your team actually work together on a daily basis? So do you follow any formal processes like Agile or Scrum or anything else?
Yeah, we do follow Scrum. We have like 2 week-long sprints planned, and then like we have daily stand-ups to just like give our updates. Like the team interacts at least once daily,
Okay.
uh, stays to just yeah.
What other product teams do you interface with?
So since we are using like even to develop any feature that we do in SageMaker, like we're using a lot of AWS's services and products. So it's mostly like interaction with their teams. Like say, like EC2 is causing throttling for our request because while developing, we are making too many requests. So like we have to interact with them, or like the networking team that takes care of VPCs and private links and stuff. If there's like any doubt we have, then we like, and each teams have like office hours set. Like all of us have office hours set. So we, much like we had at Penn, and then
Yeah.
we can then ask our questions and get it clarified.
Oh, that's interesting. That's an AWS wide thing. Like all the product teams have office hours for the other teams to interact with them, ask questions.
Yeah.
So you started your career working at Barclays, designing and deploying RESTful APIs. What does that mean? What kind of APIs were you developing?
So I was in the Barclays like customer lending department. So the APIs I was developing were mostly to do with all the validation that goes behind approval or rejection of loan applications. So like income validation, any change in like their dependent need or anything like that. So they used to be, so my APIs used to like process these questionnaires and like make decisions based on it. And then eventually it would go on and like disperse the loan or reject the application. So
I see. Okay, so these were for approving or rejecting loans. And who was using the APIs? Who's calling the APIs?
it was internal.
Okay. So other departments like the loan department within Barclays, they were utilizing your APIs.
Right, right, yeah.
And what technology were you using there to build those APIs?
It was on Java Spring Boot. Um, yeah, with Gradle dependency. It was like purely on Java Spring Boot.
Is that something they were using already before you started working there, or did you set that infrastructure up?
They were already using it, like with I believe like it was my experience and observation at least with like banking, like they are very strict about like their legacy systems. Like uh it's like they don't encourage a lot of tweaks, and like they focus on security first.
I'm sure, yeah. So what kinds of information and data were you working with in your role there? So for these APIs, what type of data were you receiving and what type of data were you sending back, I guess, as a return value to those API calls?
It was all customer data, so highly confidential, like all their net worth and
Okay,
um yeah, like number of kids and like if they are employed, not employed. It's
right.
all confidential data.
What were you returning as a result of the API call? Was it a yes or no?
No, not always. Like there also always was a description message with the yes or no.
Yeah,
And then we send it to like the team that like the team within Barclays that calls us, and then they take care of like other like information to attach to our decision.
I see. Were there any special considerations dealing with this type of customer data within Barclays? Special security considerations, compliance, reliability? Can you talk about that?
Sure, yeah. So all of this data within Barclays, like we've since we were dealing with customer data, they were all marked confidential. Um, and like say like development was being done on like dummy data sets,
Hmm?
uh, is we like cannot mess with customer data. And when we push it out to production and say something is being tested there, or like we have like a pre-flight mode on before we send it out. These data bundles had like they were kind of encrypted, and they were only in the presence of like certain authorized individuals. Like we can unlock it, or like there used to be like pins for it to be able to open up the bundle and then attach it to your like deployment environment even.
Were you dealing with the processing of the incoming customer data, or were you just building the APIs? In other words, the API is called by the loan department. Here's some customer information. They want a loan. Tell me if they should receive the loan. Did your work involve making that decision, or were you just building the APIs for the communication?
I was building the APIs that would take the decision,
Okay.
but API development wasn't occurring. Like I wasn't taking the decision on like what rules to apply to approve or reject. Those rules used to come from the business team.
Okay.
It used to be like policy engines and rule engines.
Okay.
So we used to like integrate with those and then just make the API work as per the rules.
Okay. So you would integrate with the rules basically to make the
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah.
How many of these API calls were being made per day? Any sense?
I believe it was definitely like close to 1 million
Wow.
since, yeah,
So
because
that
we were dealing with both, yeah, sorry, we were dealing with customers, which both customers who um like had an account in Barclays and ones who did not have an account in Barclays but were still using the card. So like all the requests were coming in. So like it was a lot.
So does that mean it's 1 million loan requests per day, or were there other types of API calls that they could make that weren't necessarily making a decision as to whether or not to give a loan?
Yeah, yeah. There could be a lot of like describe call kind of things,
I see.
like check
Okay.
state.
Interesting. So you were a TA at Penn. What classes were you a TA for?
I was TA for your courses. I was used for programming languages and techniques for, I believe, all 3 of my semesters.
How do you think teaching shapes how you think about code and problem solving?
I like this question. I I believe it um helps with clarity and also knowing where in your code doubts could arise. Like it makes you a better coder because of the questions you receive on like the templates that you write, or like while trying to like solve their doubts. It definitely helps you think through code in like a more thoughtful way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It might also help you with your office hours at AWS when you start to host them.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, that would be very similar, I believe.
What's something you had to unlearn from academia when going into industry?
Hmm. I think it would be like knowing when not to prioritize like theoretical purity on
Okay.
something that you're doing to make it, and rather like focus on just like writing a code that works and that could be built upon, that could be expanded, and not much on whether like I'm using like fancy coding mechanisms to like perform something. Yeah.
You really just focused on kind of the practicality of it, like basically writing the code to get the job done.
Yeah, yeah. And like I mean, like that obviously doesn't mean that you'll write code that takes longer to run, because
Right.
like latency and performance and all of those are super important. But like just not focusing too much on whether like all of my oops concepts are being used exactly the way there's like supposed to be used.
Right. When you were at Penn, you studied algorithmic justice and ethical system design. What
Mhm.
is that?
Um, those were very good courses, actually. Those were very interesting. Um, so those courses mostly basically focused on like realizing and being aware that your code is not neutral. Like so much can go wrong with these assumptions because there's a lot of like societal injustice baked into the data set and the code that's being used to make like really important decisions and like really important medical decisions and recidivism decisions and loan decisions. So it was focused on like it was forcing us to think of like code and products in a way um where we don't just care about like how they perform or like what group they're serving well, but knowing the consequences of it, like what groups are being left out, what groups are not being served the way they're supposed to be served.
So the idea is that when you say code is not neutral, code is part of a larger program, which is part of a product, and that product is accessible to different people in different ways.
Yeah.
Like you're working on maybe a small part of it, but the larger product is affecting people differently.
Exactly, that's what. So it's very easy to be oblivious of like how it could affect people because you're just writing this little piece of code on your IDE. But when I say code is not neutral, it means that there is a lot of bias that it reinforces. Say I'm writing a code to like train a model such a way that like my heat map looks really good or
Okay.
like my false positives are zero or my false negatives are zero. You could have those as zero, but still have a product that's biased.
I see. That's a good example. That helps me understand it. Can you give me an example of a software solution that you worked on that is fair and inclusive?
I think during one of my courses itself, like it was like it wasn't more like a software solution that was implemented, but we were prototyping a software solution for like existing products to like see how they could be modified to be more neutral. And I like my prototype was on a therapy chatbot um, that was like more equitable and accessible to all groups, like a mental health therapy chatbot.
I see. So you actually worked on the chatbot, or you worked on a program to assess whether or not the chatbot was inclusive?
No, I was working on the chatbot, like seeing where we could do like patchwork kind of stuff to make it more, yeah,
So can you,
biased.
so what's an example of making it more inclusive? It's a chatbot. Like, first of all, how do I access the chatbot in a browser?
Yeah, like there are a lot of like free to use chatbots or also like API integrations that you can do when
Yeah.
you're developing. I was like mostly prototyping the solution and like trying to figure out where, first of all, trying to figure out where it's lacking. Like realizing like a lot of prompt engineering goes into it, a lot of research goes into it, knowing that what data was it trained on. Like a lot of chatbots are trained on Western, like experiences of Western people. So they are going to respond in a manner that maybe people from other parts of the world cannot relate to when they're trying to like access mental health. So realizing all of that through prompt engineering,
Right.
uh, and then tweaking like some small data sets, trying to like make it work on those and then see if there's any change in response, things like that.
Okay. So I think you nailed it when you said the training data. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. You're considering how the model's being trained, what data you're using to train the model, and making sure that it's fair.
Yeah, yeah.
In your work with SageMaker, have you encountered ways to develop tools that are inclusive for end users and or builders?
Yeah, I haven't directly worked on any, but I definitely know that there are like SageMaker itself has like different configurable um like environment access for users with different levels of like abilities. Like if someone has like yeah trouble with like colors, or like they don't use a regular keyboard that we use, then SageMaker's UI has like configurable options for such builders. And for the end users, like maybe if someone's like thinking of it in a way that I'm developing something on SageMaker and that's being used by someone else. So the product SageMaker has like really strong like AI governance and bias detection algorithms to ensure that at every step, like it like lets the builder know if there's like any such drifted seeing in the model.
Does AWS have this across a lot of its products and services? These like different configurations for different scenarios that people might be encountering?
I believe so, yes. I believe it's like an Amazon-wide goal, at least, to like have it configurable for users with different capabilities.
What's next for SageMaker? Anything interesting on the horizon?
Yeah. So like I'm not sure of like a lot of formal discussions on it, but definitely a lot more of like more sophisticated built-in models for users to like quickly get started on their projects, and like distributed training in a way where we are cost optimizing on resource usage, because like GPU usage, as we know, is like a huge thing in ML, right? Like we need to have to optimize it. And then definitely with the Gen AI integration and all of that, I believe there could be a lot of like efforts going into multimodal AI integration and things like that, because that's like that's all everyone talks about these days.
What's a technology you're especially curious about right now and why?
I think it would be, even for me, it'd be multimodal AI,
Mhm.
because I just think like I feel like it brings in the technical aspects along with creativity, which is also something like I am quite passionate about, like the artsy stuff, if you may. And then also, and this is also a place where there's like a lot of scope, or say concern for like ethics and um
You
like algorithmic justice, which is something like that was like a partial focus for me all throughout my master's. So yeah, I feel like since there are so many modes that now we're integrating with AI, like we're interacting with AI and receiving responses in like so many different forms, then there's more chance of like things going um like not the right way, or like
Right. Are you an artist?
I do paint. I won't call myself an artist, but yeah.
I think if you paint, then you're an artist. What advice do you have for early career engineers who want to balance technical rigor with purpose-driven work?
That's a very good question. I I would say that like at least how I feel about it is that I have to have earned a position to be able to make like impactful decisions, or like
Oh,
purpose driven work. But I have to have earned the position first, because who is going to trust me with the decision at this point? But that should like, and that kind of is very true in the real world, but I feel at least when one is developing something, um like the mindset should be such that you know what it's for, like who is going to use it, like what the like if it's going to make something better, or like not, like why are we even doing it, and not just like, oh, like I got this task and I'm going to complete it.
yeah.
So yeah, that mindset helps.
Yeah, looking at the bigger picture. I'm curious, were you purposely seeking a role at AWS? And then more specifically, were you looking for a role where you worked on SageMaker, or did that just sort of happen organically?
That did happen organically. I wasn't like streamline. I wasn't like channeling or filtering out just specifically working for AWS or SageMaker. I did definitely want to work on like what I did definitely want to be like part of like AI ML org, but not work on model training and rather be on like the platform side or the resource provisioning side of it. And that worked out really well for me because like I'm not very like good at deep ML and like ANN stuff. So like this works out really well. But I also want to like be somewhat in touch with like what's going on in that org.
Are you ready for the lightning round?
Sure.
30 seconds each.
Okay.
Favorite programming language right now?
Java for sure. Has a bad rep, very verbose, but makes you think in a structured way.
I think you have to say Java.
Yeah. At this point, I do.
Favorite AWS tool or service?
I would say Lambda. It makes it like event triggered workflows, like you able to visualize it. That's pretty cool. It's like you can actually see it's like it aligns so well with like developing things on like a microservice basis or like broken down.
Last bug that kept you up too late?
Oh, it was a silly one. It was a misconfigured dependency injection issue. Like it was my bad, my fault in the code. Wasn't able to trace it easily.
Was this last night?
But recently, very recently.
What's your favorite band right now?
Oh, has to be Of Monsters and Men. Been a lot into indie rock and indie folk music.
What is it? Of Monsters and Men?
Yeah.
All right, I'll check that out.
Yes, please do.
Learning a lot. Activity you enjoy outside of work? Painting?
Painting, yes. I also like running, like
Okay.
running outside, not on a treadmill.
Yeah.
Uh, trying to take it up, maybe train for a marathon. Also, taking lessons for tennis. So let's see where it goes.
What do you paint?
I paint with watercolors, mostly landscapes, and lately I've been like trying to make portraits of animals as well. But
Like looking at actual animals or pictures of animals or from your imagination?
looking at pictures of animals.
What do you think of Seattle?
I really like it. I know it has like a reputation of being like so dark and cloudy and the Seattle freeze. But I do like it because of its proximity to all the wilderness around. Like you drive 45 minutes outside of the city and you're like in the middle of mountains and lakes. Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Well, this was great. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
See. Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe. More interviews and demos coming soon.